This lingam is called Parasurama Lingam. It is a Bana Lingam that has come out of the river Narmada. The speciality about Bana Lingams are that these Bana Lingams are already full of life. So a separate installation ceremony does not need to take place for them. In this Shivalingam, in the point where I am showing you now, there appears to be a marking in red color, natural of course, of a tomahawk, something like an axe. The entity that carried an axe in our legends is Parasurama, and incidentally and coincidentally, I would say, the puja vidhanam, the method of puja that is followed in our temple, was originally written by Parasurama in a text called Parasurama Kalpa Sutram. Anyone who wants to perform puja to this lingam is allowed to do so. It is situated on the Agneya Konam, or the direction of Agni, southeast to the Devi.
Shri Matre Namaha. Namaskaram everyone. Welcome back to our Sacred Rites and Rituals of Sanatana Dharma learning series, a joint presentation of the Sri Vidya Temple Society, Rochester, New York, USA, and the Ashtanga Yoga Mandir, Sri Lanka. These lectures are conducted by Sri Chaitanyanandanatha, affectionately known as Ayya. Ayya is the founder and Peethadhipati of the Sri Vidya Temple. Both Ayya and Amma, Srimati Jnanamba, have dedicated their lives to the noble mission of preserving and spreading the knowledge of Devi worship and the rich traditions of Shaiva Bhakti. For those interested in viewing this content, please note that all content being discussed in these sessions will be posted after the conclusion of the respective topic on our webpage. Please use the question form to share any questions you might have pertaining to the content discussed. For those viewing our live stream, our question form can also be found on our webpage, which is srividya.org/AYM-lectures. At this time, we will hand it over to Ayya.
Om Hamsa Siva Soham Hamsaha Hasaka Frame Hasakshamalavarayum Hasaum Sahakshamalavarayim Sahau Swarupa Nirupana Hetave Swagurave Srimadi Annapurnamba Sameda Sri Amrtanandanada Saraswati Mahabhattaraga Mama Sri Guru Sri Padukam Pujayami Tarpayami Namaha. Namaskaram everyone. My humble pranams to my esteemed Guruji, Srila Sri Amrtanandanada Saraswati of Devipuram, India. I prostrate before him and implore that he sit on my open heart lotus and speak through me. Tiruchitrambalam, the topic that we have chosen are the 25 forms of Shiva detailed by Veda Vyasa in the Skanda Purana. Briefly, there are 64 forms of Shiva too, which will be taken up at a later date. Now, in this session, we have come up to almost the end of Chakradana Murthy, the Murthy of Shiva that gave the Chakram to Mahavishnu. Now, in this session, I want to do two things. The first one is to apologize to other devotees who are from the various states in India other than Tamil Nadu, like Kerala, Andhra, Karnataka, Rajasthan, and so on and so forth. I may not be able to take examples from there because I have not been there. It is easier for me to get examples from some of the 58,000 temples in Tamil Nadu. And many of them are world famous. Many of them are called Padal Petra Stalam. That means 4 saints. Out of these 4 saints, 3 of them sang compositions that were called Thevaram. Now, if one of the 3, Triñana Sambandha Murthy Nayanar, Sundara Murthy Nayanar, and Tirunavakkarasa Nayanar, if they sung the praises of a particular temple's deity, the Moolavar, or the one in the sanctum, which is invariably Shiva, these songs are valued as the utterances of these great saints. In each of them, each of their lives, miracles almost on a daily basis have happened while they were alive. Out of these 3, Triñana Sambandha Murthy Nayanar and Tirunavakkarasa Nayanar were at the same time frame. Sambandhar was a 6 to 7-year-old kid, and Tirunavakkarasa Nayanar was in his 80s. But they recognized the divinity within each of them and composed songs on Shiva extempore. And the word Navukkarasar means king of the tongue. The title was given to Tirunavakara Siddhanath by Shiva himself. So you can imagine the chaste language that must have been used by this old man. The second thing that I want to tell you is that ever since I started this series of this Chaturvimsati Devatas, I have focused mostly on going on the side streets and started talking about the various stories that are associated with them. So much so, I have neglected to show you the slides that were prepared for each of the Murthis. So today, I'm going to go through the slides from the beginning, because when I show the slides at a later date, firstly, I may have forgotten the context that was there that prompted me to prepare that slide. And the second one is, if people don't follow the lectures from beginning to end, they won't understand and they won't be able to make the connection. So today we will go through the slides one by one for these 25 Murthis. Can we go to the first slide, please? The first deity was Lingotpava Murthy. The Lingotpava Murthy. Now these are the 25 forms of Shiva. Lingotpava Murthy, Sukhasana Murthy, Umasa Murthy, Umesha Murthy, Kalyana Sundara Murthy, Ardhanarishwara Murthy, Somaskanda Murthy, Shakti Pradhana Murthy, Trimurthy, Ardhaka Vishnu Murthy, Ardhanga Vishnu Murthy, Dakshina Murthy, Bhikshadana Murthy, Kangala Murthy, Kala Samhara Murthy, Karma Samhara Murthy, Kala Samhara Murthy, Jalada Samhara Murthy, Tripura Samhara Murthy, Sarava Murthy, Neelakanta Murthy, Tripada Murthy, Ekapatha Murthy, Bhairava Murthy, Rishabharuda Murthy, Chandrasekhara Murthy, Nataraja Murthy, and Gangadhara Murthy. Sometimes the names are interchangeable, as you will see when we follow the thing. Next slide, please. Now, Lingotpava Murthy, in every Shiva temple, if you remember, the outside wall of the Garbhagraham is called Koshtam. In the Koshtam, naturally, if Shivalingam is in the sanctum, in the southern Koshtam, that is the Koshtam that is facing south, there will be a deity, and that is always Dakshinamurti. On the western Koshtam, you will see the form Lingodbhava Murti. And the Uttara Koshtam, you will find Brahma and Durga. And the Brahma and Durga forms are in between the Gomukam. The place where the Tirtham comes and falls is called the Gomukam. In some temples, it is manufactured, or it is created, or it is sculpted in the form of a cow's head. And the Tirtham comes out and falls from the cow's tongue. Now, so the Goshtamurtis are there in this Goshtamurtis. The Lingotpava Murti, the story begins in Tiruvannamalai, the place where, like a magnet, it attracted all the great yogis. Many of them are still unknown. The latest of them was somebody called Mukupodi Murti. That means Mukupodi Swami. He was called Mukupodi Siddhar because he was always seen with snuff, Mukupodi snuff. And anybody walking on the street, suddenly he will approach somebody and say, go buy some stuff for me. If by chance he chooses you to get the snuff, you know that you are blessed, that your troubles from that point in your life will start to go away. Now, Tiruvannamalai is what you see. The hill itself is considered to be a Shivalingam. So much so, just like in any Shiva temple, as you walk around the 14 kilometers around the hill, you will find 8 Nandis looking at the hill. Just like in a temple, where they look at the Shivalingam, the 8 Nandis are there. In addition, there are 8 lingams in the directions, supposedly worshipped by the 8 directional murtis, beginning with Indra in the east, Agni in the southeast, Yama in the south, Nairadi in the southwest, Varuna in the west, Vayu in the northwest, Kubera in the north, Ishanya in the northeast, and in addition, there are Shivalingams worshipped by Surya and Chandra. And over a period of years, hundreds of tiny shrines have sprung up all over the place. Most notable among them is a Rajarajeswari Temple that houses the Dasamaha Vidyas, which is not a very normal thing when you go into any Dravidian temple. So the Lingodbhava Murthy is the origin when Brahma and Vishnu started arguing as to who was greater. And to solve this problem, Swami Shiva took the form of a pillar of light. And this pillar of light extended all the way down as far as anybody could see and into the sky. So Brahma took the form of a swan and flew upwards to try and find the end of the top portion. And Mahavishnu took the form of a boar and started digging and going down. Vishnu soon realized that he won't be able to find the end of this. And Brahma, as he was going upwards, he encountered a flower that had fallen from Shiva's head. It happened to be a screw pine flower. It is called Thalampu in Tamil. And Brahma is supposed to have asked the Thalampu, how long have you been falling? And it said, eons and eons and eons I have been falling down. So Brahma entered into a contract with him and told him, you come down and say that I picked you up at the top of Shiva's head. So both of them came down. And Vishnu, of course, very humbly, he said, I couldn't reach the end. I give up. Brahma said, I have been to the top. And from that day, Brahma was cursed because he lied that he will not have a temple on this planet, on this earth. And the screw pine flower, Thalampu, is prohibited for worship of Shiva. Although it is highly perfumed, Thalampu is very highly perfumed, and you cannot use that for worship of Shiva. Now, jumping several steps ahead, today's Murthy is Ekapatha Murthy. Ekapatha Murthy, Shiva is depicted with 4 hands, 3 eyes, with the chakram, with the Chandran and the Ganga, and on one hand, on the left upper hand, he has the Malu, the Pasham, and on the right hand, he has the Trisulam. And he exhibits Abhaya and Varada Hastam. Now, what is not depicted here for the Ekapatha Murthy is that from his left side, he has created Vishnu. From his right side, he has created Brahma. And both of those forms are coming out. And this Ekapatha Murthy is supposed to have been the one that crystallized out of Lingodbhava Murthy. There you see Vishnu is appearing on his left side and Brahma is appearing on his right side. And he is there so that Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti avasthas are given to all the jivas. If this form is not there, the jiva rasis will not be able to experience them, it seems. Now, the temple that is famous for this particular Murthy is the Meenakshi temple in Meenakshi Sundareshwara temple in Madurai. So the Ekapatha Murthy, sometimes he is also called Trimurti, is there. Now go back to the earlier Lingotpava Murthy and the second one. Go back to the next one. Are there any more slides for this Murthy? Tirukadayur. This is the place that is called Kala Samhara Murthy. Why did it come here? Maybe there is a Lingotpava Murthy here also. The main business in this temple, Tirukadayur, Thiru, divine. Two meanings. Thiru means Lakshmi. Thiru means auspicious. Gata Ur, the pot of Amardam that came out of the sea of milk, the ocean of milk, when it was churned, turned into the Shivalingam here. So it is called Thiru Gata Ur. Main business here is to perform Sashtiyapta Murthy, Bhimarada Shanti, and Sadabhishekam. Any day of the year, if you go into this temple, there will be at least 10 weddings happening for different people. For my 60th birthday, they held the Sashtiyapta Murthy right here. And because the gentleman who organized it had some influence, we got a place directly in front of the Mula Murthy. So right in front, we were there. And I was able to see the Abhishekam and all the pujas from the beginning. There were about 23 to 30 people who had followed me from USA. And when the priests started chanting the mantras for Mahaganapati Homam, everybody started to chant and they were completely blown away. They did not realize that they asked, who are these people? Where are they coming from? Anyway, when they did the Abhishekam to the Mula Murthy, to the Shivalingam, I was clearly able to see a form on the Shivalingam when they poured the milk over it. And this is the temple where Markandeya Rishi is supposed to have embraced the Shivalingam on his 16th birthday when Yama came and threw the pasham over him. And he cried, Appa, thinking of Shiva as his father. And Shiva appeared out of the lingam, Linga Udbhava Murthy. He was born out of the lingam and he kicked him. He kicked Yama, and the legend goes on to say that Yama was killed by him. So he is called Kala Samhara Murthy. There you can see Yama there, and Shiva is, Markandeya is hugging the Shivalingam, and Shiva has appeared. Look at his eyes. And he started performing the Krityam of Samharam also. Until the Devas went and, the usual thing, they go and appeal to him and he brings him back to life. So this is Tirukadayur. Next slide. Lingodbhava Kalam. At the time Shiva appears for the first time, is considered as Lingodbhava Kalam. The day in specific is considered as Mahashivaratri. The Lingodbhava Kalam is considered highly auspicious and has a great significance as the great god Shiva has appeared himself as a Shivalingam. You will see this Lingodbhava Murthy that you see there. At the base you will see Mahavishnu digging, and on top, on the left-hand side of the Shivalingam, you will see Brahma flying upwards. This is usually in the Varuna Koshtam, that is the western wall of the Shiva, of the Garbhagriha of a Shivalingam. Next one. These are various forms of this. Brahma and Vishnu are shown right next to him. And you notice that this is Sudha Vigraham. What is Sudai? These Vigrahams are made out of cement. They are not stone. Okay. So it's probably from some Gopuram. Next. Now, outside here, these are the guards that guard the entrance to the Shevalium. One fellow is called Jaya, the other fellow is called Vijaya. And if you notice very carefully, one fellow has all 5 fingers like this, open. The other fellow has only 1 finger. He is telling you, everything is only one, and that one is inside the Garbhagriha. All is one. Next slide. Tirukadayur temple. This temple, the Ganapati that you see on the right, is called Kalla Vinayar, thief, because the Devas in a hurry to consume the Amritam that they have from the pot that they got out of the Tirupad Kadal or the Milky Ocean, they forgot to worship Ganapati. So the Ganapati in this temple, he quietly extended his trunk and took the pot of Amritam and he hid it behind him. So for this reason, he is called Kalla Vinayar, thief. Ganapati the thief. Then when they realized that they had, Mahavishnu tells them that you have forgotten to worship Ganapati, then they go and beg his forgiveness and he gives the Amrita Kalasam to them. So this is Tirukadayur temple. Next one. Now this Shivalingam, the Lapis Lazuli Shivalingam, is what we have in our temple. It was gifted to the temple by Sri Amma, who is an accepted embodiment of Akhilandeshwari in Jambukeshwaram. Sri Amma noticed that the previous Shivalingam that was here in the temple had developed a crack. She never said anything. I happened to be in Delhi, New Delhi, and I was invited to speak at the Kamakshi temple in New Delhi. And she told me at that time, the lingam in your temple has developed a crack, you know that, you have to change it. And she sent me to a store in New Delhi with 2 people, telling me, you go to this place and you choose a Shivalingam from there. I went to that store and lost my mind, because there were over 3,000 most beautiful Shivalingams in that temple, in that store. But looking at each of them, having studied what the Shivalingam is, every one I looked either had a air bubble inside when it was, if it was a Spatikalingam, or some flaw in it. I had gone through probably hundreds of lingams, and finally the shopkeeper said, let me bring something out to you. If you look at it and if you like it, you can take it. And he brought this lingam out. I took one look at it and got a hold of a mallet, that means a rubber hammer, and tapped the thing. There were no gaps inside. You could hear it nicely. I spent all of 15-20 minutes tapping from all sides. And I asked him, how much do you want for the Shivalingam? He said, how much do you want to pay? I said, it's your store, it is your Shivalingam, you must tell me how much. He said, 50,000 rupees. I said, not a problem. But you must let me take the lingam. I will show it to somebody, and if that person approves, I will take the Shivalingam. Now, he has never seen me from Adam before. He doesn't know who I am. I don't know who he is. But he trusted me enough, and he said, okay, you take it. So I brought the Shivalingam to Sri Amma, where she was staying. And with a mischievous smile, she was sitting on a chair with the same identical colored sari. There she is. Can you see? Same sari. And she held the Shivalingam, and even now she's smiling mischievously because I was standing there with my mouth open. She said, I saw this Shivalingam yesterday and I knew you were going to pick this one. So this is the one that is going to go to the temple. And we bought the Shivalingam. And before I came back to America, the Shivalingam had reached here. And on a particular Paurnami, we installed the Shivalingam on the Avudayar, which happens to be slightly smaller than in proportion to the Shivalingam. Now go back to the previous slide. A disciple of mine found the composite photograph on the left-hand side from millions of little bits of information at NASA. They created this Shivalingam, the Shivalingam shape, and published it saying that this is the shape of our universe. Now, if you look at the markings on the blue Shivalingam and on this map, you will find that there are a great number of similarities there. So, you know, long before NASA produced this thing, he had already arrived at the temple. He knew where he was going. Next one. Sukha Asana Murthy. Sukha Asana Murthy. This is a particular type of drawing style, I am told, is peculiar to Tanjore and to the Cholas. Anyway, next slide. Sukhasana Murthy, the Murtis that are there, see, Sukhasana Murthy is how he is seated. That is Sukhasanam. When you sit cross-legged on the earth, like how Sriji and his kids are seated, it is Sukhasanam. If you sit on one heel, that is called Siddhasana. And there are other ways. If you lift one foot and place it on the thigh, it's called Sadhya Siddhasanam. So many of them are there. So this Sukhasanam is there. Next slide. Murthy. Now, Ekapatha Trimurthy. See, the order is jumbled. Ekapatha Trimurthy, like I described to you, you can see Vishnu emerging from the left-hand side and Brahma emerging from the right-hand side. And you will notice in this picture, on the upper left hand, Swami is holding a deer. That deer represents your mind, which will not stay in one place, just like a deer. It will keep running here and running there and jumping here and jumping there. On the right-hand side, he is holding a ankusham, which is used to control an elephant. So your mind also can be controlled by him. That's what it means. And if you look, he has Abhayahastam and Varadahastam. Now the sculpture on your left hand side is the same except that they have shown one leg of each of those fellows who are coming out the side. That is why the peculiar shape is there. Maybe they did that to show uniformity. And if you notice, Vishnu is worshipping, and right next to the folded leg, you will see the chakram. Brahma, of course, is also with folded hands, but the thing is not there. It doesn't show. Some people think that it is the fabric that is shown there. I think it is the chakram that is shown there. And this Murthy, Ekapatha Murthy, the temple that is there where you can find this very clearly is Madurai Meenakshi Temple, Sundareshwara Temple. If you go, you see it. He's on one of the pillars, exquisitely carved. See, Ekapatha Trimurti is a unique form of Shiva with Bhagavan, Vishnu and Brahma emerging from him. This form of Shiva with a single leg is closely associated with Tantric worship. This Murti form of Shiva is found in South India, Orissa, Rajasthan and Nepal. There are three types of Ekapatha Shiva Murti. One is Ekapatha Murti, Ekapatha Trimurti and Ekapatha Bhairava Murti. Now, what you see here, you see the legs of Brahma and Vishnu are disappearing behind Shiva. And they are emerging, so the other leg is shown folded. And Swami is standing. He's standing on top of Nandi. And on the left-hand side, you will find Garuda Alvar. That is Garuda, the vehicle of Mahavishnu. And on the right-hand side, you will find the swan, which is the vehicle of Brahma. Next slide. Umesha Murti. This is because he wanted to show the human beings on this earth that each man and each woman must live with each other. These forms are supposed to be there in Kailash, at least according to Vyasa Bhagavan. These forms are permanently there in Kailash for the Devas and for all the other beings that approach Kailash to worship. Next slide. Umasaha Murti, 1 second. It is in Tiruvayar. Tiruvayar is where Tyagaraja, the great musician, was there. And Tiruvayar temple is this Murti is present in one of the, not the Koshtam, on one of the Parivarams. The retinue, it is there. Next one. Kalyana Sundara Murti. Of course, this Kalyana Sundara Murti is Parvati Parinayam, how she was married. Now, the interesting part of it is Parvati Parinayam is supposed to have taken place in Madurai. Devi received a curse and she had to. Swami is very famous for this. He will get somebody on a slight whim, he will curse them and send them to the earth. And then he will himself come down and play a little game and then take them back. One of the things that I like to talk about is he was a strategic planner. Far ahead he will think and he will create things. One interesting topic is that Manikavasar, one of the four great ones, it is said in Tamil, Tiruvasayathu Kuruhar, Uruvasayathu Kuru. If you are not melted by Tiruvachakam, which was sung by Manikavasar, all 656 songs, and 400 songs in Tirukoviyar, So 1056 songs. If you don't get melted by that, you will not be melted by anything. And first-hand experience. I was in Kadirgamam, an old ancient Subramania temple from where Subramania fought Surabadma in the Great Basses Reef. At that time, it was Veera Mahendrapuram. Surabadma's Rajadhani was there and Subramania Swami fought him from Kadirgamam. Even to this day, you can see the ocean from Kadirgamam. Anyway, this Manika Vasagar, Manika Vasagar. One word is Manikam, ruby. Vasagar, each word that came out of his mouth was like a ruby. And he was named Manika Vasagar by Swami. He called him. And Manika Vasagar was roaming around in Chidambaram. And one day, a 19-year-old, 20-year-old young man, quite handsome, accosted him and said, Swami. He said, yeah. He said, you are the one that sang Tiruvasakam. He said, yes, I did. He said, can you give me the papyrus leaves so I can, palm leaves so I can. He asked him, why are you interested in this? The young man said, you know, you will not be around on this planet forever. This has to be recorded for the people who will be born in the future. So he said, no, I have not written it anywhere. So Swami said, if you don't mind, I'll meet you tomorrow in the morning. You sing, I will write. Now, what you have to be interested in, what you have to notice, each one of the songs has 10 verses. Each verse has 8 lines. So each song has got 80 lines. Like that, there are 656 songs in Tiruvasakam. Okay? Different sections. Then, after Tiruvasakam, he sang something called Tirukoviyar, that is 400 verses, same format. 8 lines, 10 songs for each song. Next day, both of them met. The young man brought a stack of palm leaves, and as Manika Vasagar sang, he wrote it. Now, remember, it's not like holding a pen. To use this thing, you have to hold it like this, and how difficult it will be to write the letters. At one time, Sanskrit and Tamil had the same script. It's called Grantha script. Even today, the priests in Sri Lanka can read Grantha, that is the old Sanskrit. All of them are trained in that. I can't read Sanskrit. I can't read Grantha because some words, some letters are like Tamil, but the others we don't know. Anyway, they started at about 6 o'clock in the morning and ended up after sunset. Whole day. Now remember, all these songs, even though he did not write them, he remembered every word. That is one miracle. And the other miracle is the 19-year-old sitting and writing it. After he finished, he asked him, have you finished? He said, yes, I have. So this young man wrote on the last leaf, Manivasagan Kura, as Manika Vasagar sang, Alagiya Tiruchittambalam Mudayan, the handsome one who lives in Tiruchittambalam is Chidambaram. The one who wrote this is that one. And he signed it, and right in front of the author, he disappeared. Only then he realized the one who had come was Nataraja. Okay. Now the story is that over some little mistake in Kailash, Swami cursed Nandi and said, go. You go to Bhulogam and you do tapas and come back to me. And Nandi asked him, what will I do, Swami, without you? Now, Nandi cannot be separated from Swami. Okay? Why is he in front of the Shivalingam all the time? Because Swami and Devi are on a jula. And the breath that comes out of Nandi and going inside, so hum, creates a shalanam, a movement, and the jula starts to move. That is why you should not walk between Nandi and the Shivalingam in a temple. Okay. So that Nandi is the one who took shape as Manikavasar and came on this earth. And why did he send him? Because he wanted him to sing the Tiruvacham so that he can write it himself. Right? So he had planned all this before. And then, let me complete the story. The next day, there are 3,000 Dikshitas. Today there are 318 families. Then there were 3,000 Dikshitas. They are called Tillai, Mu Airavar. Airam is 1,000, Mu is 3. He went in the dreams of everyone of the Dikshitas and told them, he told the Dikshitas, go bring Manikavasar on a palanquin. Take my palanquin and go bring him. So they went and brought him. And when he came, the stack of palm leaves that Swami had written was there in front of Nataraja. And he said, ask him, what is the meaning of what he has written? So the Dikshitas asked him, what have you written? What is the meaning of this? Manikavasar pointed at Nataraja and said, that is the reason. That's him. That's the reason why I have written this. Then he heard an asariri, that is voice from the sanctum saying, Ba, come to me. And in Chidambaram, to go to the sanctum, you have to climb 5 steps. Each step is one letter of the Panchaksharam. Na, Ma, Shi, Va, Ya. Manikavasar climbed the 3rd step and he disappeared. So he merged with Siva, just like he promised him. He came, wrote whatever that he had to write and disappeared. Now, for over 10 years, I have been going to India from 1968, right? Every time I went, I know these stories. So I've been asking this Dikshita, that one, do you know where this is? I know that that palm leaf original is in the temple. Now it is not. It is in some room. Tried for 10 years, nobody would say it is here. One fellow said it is here, but I don't know where it is. It's all lies. They know where it is. So finally, I resorted to what everybody does. I bribed him. I gave a Dikshita 10,000 rupees and I said, please show it to me. I want to see what Swami has written. That last sheet is there, that last leaf. It is preserved in a gold box. He wouldn't let me anywhere near it, but he showed it to me and he has written. It is written there and he shut the thing. So this is the story in Chidambaram. Right? Next one. Kalyana Sundara Murthy. The wedding ceremony of, just like Manikavasar, he curses the Devi. Left, right and center. Sometimes he will say, okay, go be born fisherman's family. This time, she was cursed to go and be born as a cow. Now, Mahavishnu was a little upset because he is the one who did the, the Bani Grahanam. He came with a sister to protect her. And the cow was there in Madurai. And Mahavishnu came as a cowherd, as a shepherd, and taking care of the cow and all that. And Devi manifested as Meenakshi. Malayatwajan, right, was the Pandya king at that time. And he had no children. He was crying. And Swami one day appeared and said, okay, do a homam, putra kameshti yogam, yagam, yajnam. As they did that, a little girl rose out of the fire and walked towards him and sat on his lap. They were overjoyed, but they were very disappointed that this little child had 3 breasts. When she grows up, how will they marry her? That natural, every parent, right? The wife's name is Kanjanamale. His name is Malayadwajan. Anyway, they brought the girl up. She mastered all the arts. Devi man, including arts of war. And she destroyed every king within earshot. Every fellow was destroyed. And she finally said, I'm going up north. Then when they were worried about this, they went and asked the Kula Guru. He said, when the gentleman who is going to marry her, when she sets eyes on him, it will disappear. The third one will disappear. And she went up north. And Swami, he had already promised her, when the time comes, I will come and take you. He appeared. The moment she saw him, all the old memories and everything welled up in her, and she was suddenly very shy. She looked down, right? And they came and look at the statue in that. See how she's looking down, how nicely they have made this. And Swami's hand is on her right hand. Kalyana Sundara Murthy. So beautiful. If you want to see this, you have to spend a whole day in the Meenakshi temple. Because also the mantra, Aim Damaha Uchchista Chandali Matangi Sarva Vashamkari Swaha. Any statue, any piece of work, artwork that you see in Madurai, your eyes will get stuck to it. You can't move your eyes. The example was there are 2 huge statues on the pillars of Veerabhadra and Bhadrakali at the entrance. And when you go inside, they will give you butter for you to throw at it. If it sticks, whatever that you think will come to pass. That's the belief system. Anyway, I went there and I looked at Bhadrakali and I couldn't move my eyes. And I remembered this story about the Ramayana. Tol Gandhar, Tole Gandhar. When they looked at his shoulders, they only saw the shoulders. When they looked at his eyes, that's all they could see. Nayana Lehyam is called. Nayanam is eyes. And it gets stuck because Lehyam is kind of gluey, gooey. Right? Only 5 more minutes. Anyway, the Kalyana Sundara Murthy, the temple that you will see is a place called Tirumananjeri. If the marriage was not going to be fixed for somebody I know, I was going to ask them to go to Tirumananjeri and perform the marriage for the Devi. You go there and you perform the marriage for the Devi, give her a sari and the statue is exactly like this. Both of them will be married. That's their main business. Within the next year, you will be married. And they'll tell you, come back here again and do the marriage ceremony again. So these are the 2 places where the statues are. Chengalpattu district, Tamil Nadu. Kalyana Sundarar is there. Okay. I think we'll stop here today for the questions.
Yeah, this is a question. It's why is it that the Kamalamba from the temple in Tirvarur is seated in a peculiar position?
That's a mudra. Just like Kamakshi is seated on Padmasanam, Kamalambal is seated in a peculiar mudra. Each of the Devis, they have several mudras. In Meenakshi temple, if you go and see, Meenakshi is in Tripanga Vadivam, 3 folds like this. So each of them holds a particular mudra when they do that. That is a particular mudra. She is not peculiar.
I think the illustration, yes, sometimes hard to see the pose. The second question, yes, are there other deities that have a deer in their hand, or is that, specific to Shiva?
To the best of my knowledge, other deities do not carry a deer. The deer is your mind. Just like a wild deer, it will not stay in one place. It will jump here, jump there. So that is to denote your mind. And it is very significant that the deer is never held on the right hand. It's always held on the left hand. And the left hand is Devi's hand. Without her help, you won't control your mind. She has to help. Other deities don't have that.
Does Shiva have a yantra?
Yes. Not just a yantra, he has many yantras. Each of the places, there is some place called Swarna Sabha, where he is dancing. Golden stage, that is Chidambaram. Then there is silver stage, Valli Ambalam, Madurai. Right? Then there is Tamra Sabha. Each of those forms has a yantra. And sometimes his Mula Mantra, Namah Shivaya, you will find it in the shape of a pentagram. Each of the triangles will have Namah Shivaya. Sometimes you will have Namah Shivaya clockwise and anti-clockwise. Both are valid because the clockwise side is his, anti-clockwise side is the mother. And they are two halves of the same coin. Okay. Then there are squares like this, many squares. And they will write Namah Shivaya. Right? Then the verticals will read, the first one will read Namah Shivaya. Ma Shivaya Na. Second one. Right? Shivaya Nama. Like that. This is called Samudaya Maral. For various prayogams, you do japam of those mantras. But it has to be, you have to receive the mantra from a competent authority. In our temple, our Shivalingam, beneath the Shivalingam is a gold yantra. At one time, you were part of the whole this thing. The gold yantra was given to Venu and Padma from Buffalo. And they did 500,000 iterations of the mantra as husband and wife, sitting together and chanting. That's a straight Panchaksharam mantra. Yes, he has yantras, many yantras.
With reference to Shiva as the Ekapatha Murthy, what is the significance of Vishnu on the left and Brahma on the right? And is there some mapping to the waking, dreaming, and sleeping states?
But is there a significance of the mapping of?
Of the 3 states, like waking, dreaming,
Jagrat,
and sleep.
Swapna, and Sushupti. Vishnu is on the left side, very easy, man. Vishnu, if you keep delving deeper and deeper into Vishnu, there is no Vishnu, that is Devi. That is why they say Yonischa Vaishnavi Shakti. So he naturally has to be on the left side. On the right side, Brahma is there because Brahma's wife is Shiva's sister. Saraswati is Shiva's sister. There was a three-way exchange between them. Last one.
Last one. In a previous session, you had mentioned that the Mula Murtis get their power from the yantras beneath them.
Mm-hmm.
What about the Utsava Murtis? Where do they get their power from?
The Utsava Murtis get their power from the priest who is doing the puja before the parikrama. He has to be focused. When he says Avahida Bhava, Samstapita Bhava, Sannidapita Bhava, he must feel that he is infusing life into the murti and it will stay. And what is the duration? 2 nalikas. What is a nalika? 1.5 hours each. So maximum of 3 hours, it will be there. Now in a place like Tiruvarur, where the Ratham is so huge, and beneath the Dalam, where the deities are, beneath the Dalam, there are rooms for the priests. Because once it leaves the temple, it will take about 9 days to get back. So in Tiruvannamalai, same. Okay. So when the Utsava Murti goes out like that, the priest that comes and does the puja first in the morning, he will install life again into those murtis. And I have experienced it in Trincomalee, Tirukonamalai, Tirukoneshwaram. At that time, I was getting interested in this, so I was reading whatever that I could get about this. It leaves Koneshwaram, the Fort Frederick, it leaves, and it will go around the town and come back. And that takes 3 days. Okay. So once when I was in the ashram, Mataji gave me permission to go. I asked her, Amma, I want to see what this is. She said, Po, experience it and come. You can see, Thambi, that as the 2 nalikas are elapsing, the brightness of the murti goes down. The next day when he comes and does it, it comes up again. Very interesting. These things you have to observe. So many things we just look at it and, we look at the murti and then look somewhere else. We have to look at her. We have to look at the murti. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you, Ayya, for sharing a lot of information today about the different forms of Shiva. And we are excited to continue this in our upcoming sessions. To access all the content from prior sessions, please visit our website, srividya.org/AYM-lectures. And thank you all for joining today. At this time, we will hand it over to Sri Vyasa for today's yoga session, and we will see you all next time.
Greetings to Haranaya and all the members of the Sri Vidya Temple and the members of Ashtanga Yoga Mandir, all those who are viewing this particular live stream. In any of the practices, it is very important the structure maintaining the hands. Especially if you see, like if you are going into any breathing practices. No? If the breathing practices has to be important, this location, that is, when you take the tirtha, this location is a very vital location. Elbow is location. This is important. So these are very important points for you to take care when you are doing any breathing practices. If you are doing any chanting practices, mantra chanting, whether you are doing it on the fingers or whether you are doing on the japa, it is most important that your hands don't shake unwantedly. Same way, you will see in the temple rituals or even at home, when you do the aradhanas, you need to see that the formation of the hand is very important. How the hand moves based on the mind. So those who are here, who have a good exposure in the dance, you will know how the teachers guide you in every movement of their hand. When they take the movement of an ocean, when they're depicting, or any of the rasas, or any of the depicting, the hand plays the major role. So in yoga practices, it gives an utmost importance, and you will see that lots of such practices are there. Strengthen, this is your earlobes, from earlobe to the middle finger. Strengthening is very important. So today we will do one practice to look into it. So basically what happens is you will take your hands behind. When you take your hands behind, you will see, comes like this. The other hand, we should be in a position to hold the like this. So you will see that. So it's like this, you should be in a position and then hold it. Sometimes you are not able to do that. It's all right, no problem. So what you can do is you bring your hands like this and you can hold it like this and then slowly start moving slightly. So when you move it slightly, you will see. So my hand is here. So when we do a yogic health assessment, generally when a person keeps the hand, we check how you place the hand. And then from there, you will see how much you can keep bringing it. So if your hand is in the exact position behind, it will come up to the diaphragm level. So that's how the hand is placed. And this practice is very important. Okay. And then start moving very gently. And then slowly we'll have it on the other side. And then you slowly start moving very gently. And then you will see when you bring your hands up, for example, in the Ekapatha asana or something like that, when you just bring your hands itself, you will bring it like this. There is no space in that. And then what you will do, you will bring your hands like this, bring the other hand like this. In the first practice, you'll be like this, and then you will do the movement. Start moving like this. Once you have become very familiar, then you will take your hands in this position. Okay? You can take your hands in this position, be like this, and then after that, take your hands like this, and then start moving. And you try to see whether you are able to touch. So in yoga, we are not worried about the structure of an individual. So if you are able to come like that, and if you are able to touch your nose, that's fine. You can be of any structure. Understand? Because that flexibility is what is required. Then you start doing with the other hand. Hold it, be there. So you be here for 27 counts. You be here for 27 counts. And then after that, in a very seated, comfortable position, you start moving. Inhale, and when you go forward, you exhale out. And then when you start continuously doing these practices, then you bring the hands, bring the legs in the cross-legged position. Continuously, when you do those practices, you will see the hand become stronger. Due to, texting in WhatsApp, different chats, laptops, there is a concern that the system gets affected, which you need to know, because there are certain fingers only which is used. So technically, some are used in our day-to-day life. Some are overused. Because we overuse some fingers are abused. This thing creates an impact in the nerve friction of our neck region, which gives the grip lesson. This sequence of practice helps you in ensuring that the hand becomes strong. Please practice and enjoy your practice. And once again, thank you to Haranaya and all the members of the Sri Vidya Temple. We will end the sessions with the Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.